Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. I don't know what happened there. There's supposed to be all kinds of banners and noises and sounds and videos, but none of that happened. But it's okay. Bill Williamson said he wonders what the intro going to be today. So do I. I still don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that you're here on Night School. Here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most pressing topics, the most controversial issues, the most urgent debates going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. As you know, today is December 30th. We got about, here on the East Coast of the United States, we got about 26 hours left in this interesting year. And I wanted to really have a conversation about what's going on and what has happened. We could talk about 2025, we could project, but I want to really break down what I think has been a wild year. It started wild and it seems to be ending wild. And so I said, who better to help me think through this stuff than two of the most important cultural critics, two of the most important voices in these United States. I'm going to bring them in just 1 second. But before we get started, I need every Night School classmate to hit the like button on this video. I need you to comment your name and where you're watching. So everybody knows. Share the video with a friend, with a group chat, with a social media community. Do everything you can. I want to invite as many people into this global classroom. But remember, you got to be a subscriber in order to leave comments. And I want y'all leaving comments. If you're over on Twitter, come back over to the YouTubes. Leave a comment there. It's worth it. I promise you. But remember, you got to always be decent. You got to always be civil. You ain't got to agree. You can talk trash. You can make fun of me, or make fun of other people. You know, you can be playful, but you got to be respectful. You got to be civil. You got to be humane. If you don't do that, we got chat moderators. They watching. And you'll get a warning in the comments. The second time, you'll get muted. That means you can't comment. And the third time, you are going to get banned. 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 So that's what we're talking about here. I got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about, but I can't do it by myself. Let me bring in two of the baddest mofos in the world today. To my, on the left side, not to your left, to my left, whatever, over here. I know my directions, I promise. Is the legend. Do I have, hold on. She is a writer. She's a scholar. She is an authoress. She is a songstress. She's also actually a seamstress. But most importantly, she penned this amazing book. It's called America Goddamn. Violence, Black Women, and the Struggle for Justice. Right over here. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Treva B. Lindsey.
That was very dramatic.
And that's weird because I am not a dramatic person. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yes.
My mic was on the floor, apparently.
On the dramatics.
Amin Omar said, Mark, your live streams are better solo. Then leave. Like Mississippi, but America. Boom. Boom. Right here in the middle. Boom. On the other side, one of the most important storytellers of his generation. And I don't mean storyteller like a liar. You know, my house, you couldn't say liar to say you're a storyteller. No, I mean, this man tells stories. Picture it. Fort Greene, 2022. A young boy. Like he is literally known as the Sophia Petrillo of Brooklyn. He is a writer. He is a thinker. He is a comedic stylist. He is a storyteller. He is a content creator. He is Jameer Pond. Jameer Pond.
I'm not French, and thank you.
And that's what makes it so amazing that although you came out of those Fort Greene projects that I used to look out from my window.
Wasn't born in Fort Greene projects. Didn't live there ever.
What part of you from Fort Greene?
Yeah.
That's right. You know what? I've seen your house. You're right. It's not the projects, actually. Projects were the other way.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. I keep thinking your hat says Marlboro.
I know. It's styled like that. I don't smoke ciggies though. It's not my thing.
Calling them ciggies is wild.
Maybe.
What's also funny to me is that Maurice said that I'm drunk. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in, I mean, it's no record shit. You know what I mean? I'm not ready to get no coin or nothing. But like a few days. My point is this is me sober. This is me sober. I have a little cold that I'm still getting over. But I think I'm okay. Anyway, y'all, I'm just yapping. I'm having fun because this is the last night school of the year.
Oh man. What a year for class.
I know.
We learned so much.
I think we did. We taught so much. We learned so much. And you two were an integral part of that.
Oh, thank you.
I used that word right. And
I got to check with Dr. Lindsey for that. I don't know.
She's going to say I used it wrong.
No.
He tends to tell me I used them wrong. But
let's forward.
Thank you, D. Marie. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let the people know. Show your love. Let the people know. I have so much to talk to y'all about, but I wanna start with January 1st, 2024. Cat Williams. Cat Williams broke the internet. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
And I don't think I could have imagined an interview being as important as the Cat Williams interview was in 2024. He hit January with a bang. It changed Shannon Sharp's life, to be sure. Shannon Sharp was already rich and famous and popular, but Club Shay Shay went from being a cool space to being the spot.
Yeah.
It got, at some point, it was at like 55, 60 million. It's the most watched interview in YouTube history. And in podcast history.
Yeah.
It was a thing. But I'm not worried about the success of the interview per se, although that's interesting. Cat said a whole lot of stuff was going to happen. He said it was going to be a year of truth-telling and awakenings and unfoldings and reckonings. What do you make of it? Was this the year of Cat Williams? Was Cat right?
Dr. Lindsey, would you?
Oh, it's not even a tough one, but it is an interesting question. I mean, clearly this year, when you said January 1st, I was like, what happened January 1st? I was, because there's this time warp that's happened, particularly in the kind of COVID forward era. I don't want to say post-COVID because COVID's still out here. Please be safe out there. But there is this sense of time that's just very distorted. But Cat, in only the way Cat Williams could, after reading the 3,000 books or so he read, or
wow,
being one who gave us that great line of an unhealthy need just to lose. I mean, there's bars in there, there's insight in there, and part of that I think obviously comes from his comedic insights that he just has. That one of the brilliant parts about Cat Williams as a comedian, as an actor for years has been the way he taps into the moment, to the cultural moment, his own knowledge, his own relationship with the industry, his own relationship with society at large. And I think he just went on there and was himself, and credit to the platform that existed there, because he's so skilled at what he does. We really got a 3-hour plus, just everything. It wasn't even an interview per se. We got Cat Williams for 3 hours.
No.
Telling us everything and then some that we wanted to know, didn't want to know, didn't know we needed to know. And I've just been checking off things that have happened this year that go back to Cat Williams moment. So a portal was certainly opened with that sit down. And I know he is whipping some brown liquor, pleased that he was as prescient as it turned out to be. Right. Debates about that. I remember having a moment here, he had some jokes in there. It's Cat Williams, extremely funny. Had a joke in there about Gaza, which was so terrible and awful. I remember that distinctively well. And he's usually so on point in some of his critiques. I still think about the insurgents one from his early session about like how we think about when America's abroad doing all kinds of violent shit all over the world. And you're like, oh, they killed insurgents. Well, I don't know fucking insurgents. Yeah, kill them motherfuckers. That's what we talked about, and how he did it. So to have that kind of flippant remark, but thinking about predatory behavior in the industry, talking about opening up the floodgates of kind of Me Too hitting the industries that he was in closer proximity to, that really spoke to things. That really, it's not that opened up. We already had something going into that year about what truths were unfolding and what was coming to the light. But I think he set it off in a way that only Cat Williams could.
When you first heard this, Jameer, and I know you're a close watcher of Club Shay Shay and a big fan of comedy, so I know you were following kind of all of this. Did you think Cat Williams was tripping and it became more real to you, or from the beginning were you like, yo, he's on to something?
I knew he was on to something. But like, I think as the months progressed, you started to see like more breadcrumbs add up. And like he was saying when he started talking about Diddy, and because you got to say no to Puff, and months later, hey, so like he was on point about a lot. And I even think like within the comedy world too, because like if you look, there's like an old promo of Cat doing the joke that he says Cedric stole from him. And a lot of people was, trying to discredit Cat, but a lot of people came to his defense. And we started seeing God bless you. Once we started seeing the receipts kind of be calculated, like people was kind of like, oh, like Cat is probably telling the truth. He sounded like he's telling the truth. And I even think like the interview, just as an interview, did a lot for 2024. We kind of saw media like shift from that interview. Like YouTube numbers for YouTube videos aren't as high as they've been in previous years, because so many mediums are changing. This was like one of the first interviews to like crash YouTube in a minute, and it kind of changed the way people, Club Shay Shay, even having Kamala on. There would be no Kamala if it wasn't for that Cat Williams interview. I don't think there would have been a Trump and Joe Rogan if it wasn't for Cat Williams. So you got to see like what the changing landscape of media was too. So I think as much things that he talked about on the show, we got to give Cat Williams his like just due. He like shook up the internet day one and changed the landscape
for an entire year.
Yeah.
So one of the things Cat Williams talked about was Diddy. Obviously, we went into 2024 with Diddy already facing charges, but Diddy hadn't been arrested yet. He hadn't been charged yet. He wasn't in prison yet. I don't think anybody could have anticipated how. I mean, Diddy became a punchline in 2024. In addition to becoming incarcerated, in addition to facing a ton of charges, I mean, people are literally running around the country saying no Diddy. People are literally making baby oil references. People are, I mean, there are so many levels and layers of it. And it's all troublesome and problematic for lots of reasons. But Diddy had a really, I mean, I can't express how bad a year Diddy had.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, perhaps not as bad as many of those before with allegations against him,
Right.
and the fact that what's been alleged, seriously alleged, and even things that have been confirmed, if we're thinking about Cassie Ventura and the video that we saw of a very vicious assault that she endured, that it is, like you said, a punchline. It is a joke. And I know we had a discussion months ago on here when we were talking about our response to this and our reactions to this and the kind of gravity of the situation and the amount of kind of laughter that happened to it, right? It's the baby oil jokes. It's the no Diddy, which just suddenly replaces no homo and still traffics in a kind of benign homophobia that we've gotten so accustomed to. Pause. When you're talking about this, like and there's so many ways that we're not still talking about it in terms of abuse, and we want to make him singular as a figure, and it became, well, who's next? Who's the next predator that we're gonna find out? Like, let's get them. Let's get these big dogs out of here, and then somehow we'll be rid of predatory violence and somehow rid of abuse, not even looking at the ecosystem by which this is able to even occur. That we get predatory behavior, that we actually have to hold ourselves accountable for the ways we condone, are complicit in, or are ourselves engaged in predatory behavior or things doing that. And so, you know, making him a singular monster doesn't actually call out the monstrosity of predatory behavior that exists in this world, right? A court upheld today the civil case in which Trump, right, was found liable for defamation and for sexual assault. And so the person who's about to become president again of the United States is someone who was found civilly liable for predatory behavior and defamation. So when we talk about the needle moving, exposure is one thing of what's happened, but actually having a real discussion about violence, the Me Too movement, coming into this industry, and specifically here thinking about hip hop industry, thinking about kind of popular Black culture en masse, I don't think we're somewhere better, to be perfectly honest. In fact, I'm fear that we might be worse off because there's a singular to it. It's not this kind of scaffolding that we're questioning as much as I think we should.
Jameer, do you feel the same way, or are you saying something different in any way?
No, I would agree. I think it is very singular because you also see these people who, like, you see Diddy, and later on in the year, Jay-Z would have allegations towards him. This burning of the old regime. People now want to, you know, I saw people even before Jay-Z was like alleged. Like people was like, you know, we waiting for Jay-Z too. It's like we want to tear down this idea of what celebrity was because of what it like looks like now. You know, like it has a lot of holes in it, a lot of murky areas, a lot of predatory behavior, and you start seeing things up close from a timeline of like 20 years. You're like, hey, wait a minute, this is some really sketchy stuff. And not only that, like these people are accused of heinous things. Like I learned so much more about Diddy this year. So much stuff I didn't even want to know, you know, but like you
knew Diddy like pretty well from the outside. I mean, like you're a music head, you're a cultural critic, you knew, and you grew up in New York. So you've heard the stories. You've even spent time with Diddy.
Okay. So to preface, I interviewed Diddy. You don't have to, you know.
That's what I meant.
No, you could have said interviewed. I mean,
because you told me a very particular story that I find that
yes, I did. For the Met Gala, working with Vogue, I was directing Diddy, and you know, when you think, you know, I met him, I had heard these things, not these things. I just heard, you know, that he was kind of, you know, loud and very dominant, centered, and aggressive, and all these things. I had never met him before, but when I did the interview with him, it was like I didn't, you know, I didn't know who he was, but it was like a totally different person. I was like, oh, he's not like this at all. And then you start hearing all these allegations, and you're like, well, how do you really know a person? I met him one time, and I had these hopes in my head from like childhood. He's a creative hero, a musical hero for me, growing up.
Was moisturized.
Okay, if we talk about the era, like he was very
moisturizer
before. There we.
I mean, Jameer, to your point, I think, and even if you did know him, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say you did. Let's say all knew him well, right? Mm-hmm. I know folks didn't see this behavior either. I think this is the other thing we have to dispel, right? Because there's the ecosystem and people on here, I saw some comments like, we got to get their entourages and this and their people. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, there are people around them enabling. You can be friends with, you can be in relationship with, you can be in family with people who do horrible things to other people who never do anything horrible to you.
That's a fact.
And so I think in trying to actually get at the root of what has happened, what continues to happen, the various sexual assaults and things that have happened since we found out about the allegations against Diddy, against all kinds of other people, is that thing that I want us to get at more so than I just want to like take down Diddy. Like, right, Diddy is incarcerated. He is, you know, I mean, so much has come out, so much to wade through in terms of what the accusations are, and so many things that aren't just about sexual violence and predation and child sex abuse. It's extractive relationships with artists, how he treated people. Like, there's all kinds of things around that. And so he may be singularly terrible. He may be. And I do think that it's important to say, like, even those who are in proximity to him, even folks who may have been in relationship with him, may not have known the extent to which he was violent. They may have been like, he's an asshole sometimes, but he don't engage that like that with me. He knows what boundaries not to cross with me. And so,
and that's what I hear from people. That's exactly what I hear from a lot of people in the business.
You know what I mean? I'm like, there are definitely people who've been accused of things in my life where I would be like, oh my gosh, I've never encountered them like that. And there's a way not to discount the other people's experiences with them, with also acknowledging that that was not your experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like there's this thing now of like, who was near Diddy? Who was at these parties? Who was doing this, to try and put this kind of cloud of predatory behavior around everyone who was ever in contact with one of the most powerful figures, popular media for the last 30 years. And that's unfair. And it doesn't do anything for his victims for us to do that.
No.
It does nothing for his victims. It does nothing for people coming forward with their stories to have this cloud of them, because you then aren't, again, getting at the actual violence that's happened, the harm that's happened. And there's nothing reparative about just exposing. There's nothing reparative about that.
That's a powerful sentence right there. There's nothing, I mean, restorative, but just exposing, right? There has to be a healing. There has to be a justice. There has to be accountability. And these are all things that we don't see. Speaking of accountability and justice, this has been a year of genocide for the last 12 months. Beginning of October 7, 2023, but for the last 12 months, there's been a nonstop genocidal military intervention happening in the Gaza Strip. I just want to say, and I'm only going to speak for myself here. This is something that we've covered here on the channel all year, and it's something that we'll continue to cover. But it's important for us to understand that this has been 12 months of absolute genocide. This has been 12 months of uninterrupted military violence, 12 months of humanitarian aid being blocked, 12 months of children dying of preventable illnesses, including starvation. It's been 12 months of food insecurity. It's been 12 months of over 90% of the people of Gaza being displaced and unhoused. It's been 12 months of water shortages, 12 months of wells being destroyed, 12 months of school. In fact, it's been more than 12 months, but this entire 12 months, schools have not been open. Every university in Gaza has been destroyed over the last 12 months. There is not just an onslaught in Gaza over the last 12 months, but there's been 12 months of the international community coming up woefully short. It's been 12 months of the United States ignoring international law. It's been 12 months of ignoring humanitarian policies or humanitarian tradition, precedent. It's been 12 months of the United States not forcing Israel to make sure aid gets to the most vulnerable people. It has been 12 months of blocking aid. It's been 12 months of Democrats and Republicans ignoring the crisis. And over the last 12 months, we've seen the United States continue to double down on the same talking points, the same tepid, if not outright feckless policies. It's been 12 months of Democrats pretending to be working toward some mythical two-state solution when in fact they're simply arming and protecting and normalizing Israel's genocidal reign on the Palestinian people. And so as we talk about these 12 months, it's incredibly important that we not lose sight of what's happened, but also recognize that these last 12 months, in 2024, were an extension of the previous 3 months, which were an extension of the previous 56 years, which were an extension of the previous 100 years overall. There's nothing magic about the calendar turning in January 1st, just like there was nothing magical about the calendar ending on December 31st last year. We're now in month 15 and it's very quickly 16 of this genocide. And we don't want the last 12 months to look like the next 12 months. And so we have to do something. We have to intervene. We have to use our voices. We have to speak up. We have to speak out. We have to struggle for justice. And what justice looks like is a free Palestine. All right, y'all. Other stuff going on in the world that I want to talk to y'all about, including Robitussin. Here's something that I thought you all would find interesting. Joseph Robinette Biden signed an anti-hazing bill. If you don't know, now you know. This happened very, very recently. December 24th, 2024. President Biden signed the first federal anti-hazing bill. Here's what this means. It supports colleges and universities to disclose hazing incidents reported to campus authorities in their annual security reports. The law, by the way, defines hazing as any intentional, knowing, or reckless act committed by a person against the student that, quote, causes or is likely to contribute to a substantial risk of physical injury, mental harm, or degradation. Now, that's not just picking on people. The definition, according to Forbes, explicitly applies to acts connected to a student's affiliation with campus organizations such as sports teams, clubs, fraternities, and sororities, right? So basically, if somebody wants to get into your organization and you make them do things other than sign up, this is where you end up. Now, colleges and universities are going to be able to federally, or they'll be required federally, to produce publicly available campus hazing transparency reports that summarize the findings of student organizations that violate the hazing rules. And it even sort of breaks down what the violations are, whether it's going to be alcohol abuse, drug abuse, or any other sanctions. And these transparency reports will not include the names of the students, according to the law, which does not note federal punishments for colleges found to be in violation of the reporting standards. So you're going to see not like John Smith was getting high on campus, but what you will see is the results of the students or the consequences of students' behavior coming around. So there is an attempt in 2024 to stop hazing on college campuses. Now, there's both of you are members of the Divine Nine. For those that don't know, that those are the Greek letter, Black Greek letter organizations. Dr. Lindsey is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and Monsieur Pond.
I'm not. Doesn't have to be French.
I know.
No.
It doesn't have to be, but it is. Monsieur Pond is a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, and a lot of the times when the hazing controversies happen, they look at us in our organizations. But it's quite interesting. Many of the incidents that happen on campuses are these white fraternities. Sorry, it's on Fraternity Row. It's the sexual violence. It's the binge drinking. It's all this stuff. But the organizations most vulnerable to extinction are our organizations. You know, they often say we're one lawsuit away from being gone, if it's a big enough lawsuit. So I care about this for all organizations, but I particularly care about for Black folk. What does it mean for Biden to sign an anti-hazing bill like this? Are y'all worried? Mr. Paul, I want you go first.
I'm like, not necessarily. I'm not necessarily worried. Just because I guess, like I've seen, and maybe it's generational, but every generation has kind of slowed down. Like in my opinion, just from people who I talk to, in terms of like hazing, which it looked like before. I think campus laws have gotten stricter just around the country, and just organizations have gotten stricter. I can't say that I'm necessarily worried though. I mean, although look, we've had things on my chapter in my fraternity where legal actions happened, and like people, really had to do time because of accusations, and also just like violating the campus hazing. And I think from there, like I was just kind of like, me personally, I don't want to be involved in anything that's gonna harm somebody or like put me in a place where like
Same.
I could be like, I'm good off that. So, and I guess, all right, so I'm years removed also. Like I'm not in basements, making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever was happening some nights. But like I'm not in those spaces. And so maybe I'm not the right person to directly be like, I don't know how it's gonna affect campus life or not. But I know just from talking to bros.
Let me ask a more direct question.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to end hazing?
No.
It's not possible, and I say this with a trepidation. I agree with you, Mark, in that I do think BGLOs will be disparately impacted by this. I think the eyes will be on us in a different way. I'm thinking about wonderful filmmaker who's also a member of a Black Greek letter organization, Byron Hurt, who did a documentary called Hazing, which looked at hazing across different organizations, different kinds of campuses, different things. And so I think it's important to note that as these historic organizations that have done incredible work, that have these incredible legacies, that have these incredible traditions, the spotlight will be on us in ways that I think are going to be unfair. And violence, sexual assault, the level of violence that we often see with pledge processes for band fraternities, for fraternities and sororities, for sports teams, for all of these things, we know there are lines that get crossed that are unfathomable and unthinkable. And I think in a moment where our organizations, we saw how our Greek letter organizations mobilized, for instance, in the most recent election, right? And thinking about attempting to get Kamala Harris elected, as she's a member of a Black Greek letter organization, right? Like there's that kind of history that does this. I'd be lying to everybody here if I said hazing isn't a part of our history and our present. It would just be a lie to say that. Yeah. And so as removed as I am from my collegiate process, as removed as we are, even as alumni within our organizations or in grad chapters, not in grad chapters, members at large, whatever we all are. I think that there's something to be said for, I don't know why this came up. That was my also question. I'm like, of all of the legislation you could do right now.
Well, that's what I was curious about. That, you know, and someone asked, wasn't there already legislation? Yet there's state level legislation across the board.
State level legislation. Right. All of our organizations have been sued at different points for hazing. So again, this is not to say that I think that it's unimportant to address hazing on college campuses and the violence that comes with hazing, and that has come with hazing. I'm not in any way saying that. I am also wondering, like, usually this comes from a prompting from something like, was there some incident that happened this year in this just jam-packed year, as you mentioned at the top of the hour, Mark, that we've had that I'm not remembering, right? That we're like, we don't condone violence on college campuses, but we have committed 450 days since October 7th to brutalization that is absolutely cruel and inhumane. So it's like we have a politics of inhumanity that we're somehow attempting to regulate or performatively engage in monitoring violence on college campuses, universities, in light of how our college students were treated in this year in response to protesting the very violence that we're funding and participating in. So this cramping down on college campuses is also part of what I'm thinking about in relationship to this legislation.
It's a super interesting thing to think about Joe Biden with a month left in office doing this particular legislation when there's a million other things, like you said, he could be doing. And again, this seemed like a solution in search of a problem. I mean, at the federal level, you know, again, there's plenty of state policy, you know, it's uneven and such, but there's no lack of clarity that organizations and statewide governments are against hazing and it's illegal. So, you know, to me, this energy could have been used for lots of things. I know people who'd rather have their student loans addressed. You know, I know people who'd rather have housing.
Like, what about that?
Right.
Like, we've been talking about that for years, specifically this year. Like, we done seen it on the table, off the table, on the table, off the table, and like hazing comes up. I was kind of taken aback. I'm like, I you know what? Like, you know, but it's been something that has consistently been addressed campus wide, things like that. Like these people, and we can't even get our student loans paid.
Right. And it's like if Jameer wants to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a basement.
And then
there's just a normalization that we're getting accustomed to of the kind of levels of surveillance that our colleges and universities, it normalizes it, because it's hard to be like, well, I'm for hazing. Okay, someone just Dartmouth College student. Thank you. I was like, was there something that happened in particular this year?
White person dying, we'll get you some.
I'm sorry. White babies getting killed in the school don't get us gun control legislation. So I don't know that that's always necessarily true. But I do think that there is something about is to monitor what's on our campuses and being able to regulate, police, surveil, criminalize. And we've seen the intensification of that in a way that feels so deeply troubling since spring of this year, in terms of clamping down on the ways that students organize, congregate, mobilize. And I think using hazing, and I do think it feels very like amorphous in this moment, given that there is this state legislation, the kind of intentionality of it is about surveillance. It's about a performative thing. Biden did come in, and as someone, even as a vice president, who was focused on college campuses in a particular way, and he was looking at sexual violence on college campuses. That was something. He even starred on an episode of Law and Order SVU when he was vice president about sexual assault at college campuses. So I'm not necessarily saying that it's wholly insincere. I do think it's a curious thing to spend in their last few days in office and looking at your administration's response to what happened on college campuses in 2024. That's an interesting thing to look at side by side in this moment.
Mr. Paul, last thing on this, as you wear I see you wearing the crimson and cream hat.
You already know.
When don't ever do that again.
I got my Sperry's on right now. My boat shoes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
For you.
Do you ever wish you'd made a different choice?
In terms of what?
I mean, I have a picture of you when you call me on the telephone. A picture comes up.
Don't be mad because I look good in red.
And you have a crimson and cream outfit on.
I don't have a crimson and cream outfit on.
Mr. Paul.
It's a red jacket. It's not crimson.
Okay. You're dressed like Lenoops.
No, I'm not just like, I don't have on boat shoes.
Come on.
It's a nice jacket. It's a red jacket.
And you have on this hat. It seems like there's a part of you, and I don't want to be presumptuous. Maybe it's Delta Sigma Theta, but it seems part of you that wanted to be part of the Crimson and Cream team. And I just wonder how you feel about that now.
Well, shout out. I got two sisters who are Deltas, so shout out to them. But no, no knock, respect to y'all. I'm okay though. I'm okay. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I don't have boat shoes or suspenders handy, or a polo short set, or a bow tie. And I respect people who that's a flex for you. I love when y'all do the bow ties, and I like the cold shimmy. I'll be honest, where it's like, whoa, it's like the freezing one. Like, I like that one. So respect to y'all. But
what is the Doodoo Brown team known for?
Uncle Luke?
No, the Iota Phi Theta. Your colors are Doodoo Brown, and
it's brown like our skin. Neither here nor there. What are we known for? Like
Kappa Shimmy, Alpha's 8 Walk or whatever. Q's struggle with literacy. What do y'all do?
We're not doing this today.
Crazy. Struggle with literacy.
Wow. We're not going to do on today. To any of my wonderful, amazing bros watching, the opinions of that man over there who pledged that other 1911 organization can be over there. Thank you for helping our communities with literacy, and the many who are rethinking and challenging manhood, who are serving communities in great ways. And Omega's hot, my dude. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. Because you don't want me to start. You do not want me to start.
What? So
probably move forward with the big
Light them up just a little bit. That vibrato.
I see I'm surrounded by hate, so
you opened the door. You were over here.
This was really you. It was really you.
Organization, and you could have left that and talked about Brother Struggling with Literacy, which, by the way, for folks who are struggling with literacy, that is a reality for many, many people. And you tried to make it punchline. Someone who writes about literacy, someone who really studies and thinks about this, shockingly so.
I was just trying to be helpful.
Wow.
Queen Virgo said, I think he's the second iota I've ever seen in person. I'm assuming the first one is Kyle Barker from Living Single.
Hey, shout out to Fred.
What's his name?
Today is Valentine.
You see, person, a
Does he know?
And song stylist.
TC Carson.
I like TC Carson a lot.
I love
my only thing.
No, just
no. Does he know a second song?
What?
On he sings Funny Valentine on Living Single.
Yeah.
He has about 17 Instagram videos singing My Funny Valentine. I mean, he's
first of all, that's highly requested.
Please go back to the Christmas episode where he is singing with the Dana, the Queen, Latifah Owens, which is then joined in by everyone. Getting a nice jazz styling.
That's right.
What year was that?
Don't forget the duet he did with Eartha Kitt on the show as well.
He also, you're saying, but you're on the show, so I'm just naming instances where various songs were sang. Okay.
I like.
No, you don't.
Do.
I really do, and I know he's one of your founders. I really like him. The issue. He's one of
and that's why you are struggling with a lung right now, sir. Right. See? Can't even do.
You a hater.
I'm not a hater.
You are a hater.
My point is, it's just I feel like he could. It's like when you go to Lauryn Hill show, you know you're getting them 12 songs. Like I sometimes want something different.
You love going though. You be
I do.
Thankfully.
I do.
So what are you talking about?
I'm just saying. After 30 years, I figured TC could have 2 songs.
Well, Mans is also he's an actor.
Songs, number 1, number 2.
He's an actor. What's he been in since Living Single?
Stop playing, man.
What's he been in since Living Single?
First of all, he does a lot of voiceover work. He's the voice of Kratos.
Very well voiceover actor. He's a voice actor.
Yeah.
So that's
again. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of his.
Not a fan.
Don't say you're a fan. You could just say you respect. You know of his body of work. That's what you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen Living Single and I've heard My Funny Valentine. Yes.
You really
and that's limited popular culture knowledge. That is where you end, sir.
That's where you end. What did he do to you? What did TC do to you?
He literally Raza Ghul. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he got bangers.
Are you kidding me? And that was more recently. And we know you don't know that. It's okay. It's all right. Just to admit what you don't know. And that's okay.
It's not like people are asking like Montel Jordan, hey, sing more than This Is How We Do It. Like, that's his bread and butter.
He also does voice acting. He does voice acting for video games. He does voice acting for a lot of different things. So shout out to TC Carson.
I'll check out some of his stuff because when I go to when I go to his IG page, the last thing he posted I think was the reggaeton version of My Funny Valentine.
He also and you're talking about his. This is just terrible. This is just terrible. Such disrespect.
Yo, like TC gets caught mad strange for no reason though.
Listen, like
he didn't even do nothing.
Just out here being Mace One, being Raza Ghul, and here you go, being terrible.
The God of War. That's wild. That was you hated because you say you went to his page.
Mean.
I'm all jokes aside, I am a actual fan of his.
I don't think so. It's okay.
You're not.
And he has there's a great interview of his as we move on. There's a great interview of his.
What match? For no reason.
TC Jameer and
talking about
Treva.
when he knew he was going to leave the show. Oh, knew he was going to leave Living Single, and sort of how they didn't do him. They did him sort of dirty. With the contracts, and so him and Overton, John
Hinton.
Yeah. And so and I thought they were part of the glue of the show. I thought they were it's just such a great crew. I was watching Friends. I'm finally watching Friends. I'm on season 9 now.
When you came on, you were watching it. I heard it. I'm like, this sounds like Friends in the background.
Oh, it actually was. Yeah, I was resetting the Wi-Fi, and so I had it on my phone, and so it jumped back on. And I think both shows are good on their own, and I hate that they're constantly getting compared to one another. But I think people don't appreciate the contribution that Living Single made to pop culture, and as part of that footprint that Friends takes up, some of that should have been taken up by Living Single. But some people who are not from the United States or who just don't know what we talk about, they're not happy. So we're gonna move on.
You Americans.
Don't leave y'all. Real fast. Inertia Emotion dropped a super sticker. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Sip Sauce or Kip Sauce, I'm not sure. I'm doing okay. I almost coughed up a lung where I'm from, but I'm okay now. Isaac Hempsey just donated 5 MLH memberships. Thank you. Hopefully those got to the right people. Nobody who aren't our kind of people made it in. And what I mean by that is, no, before y'all roll your eyes, what happens sometimes is trolls come in and these memberships get automatically distributed. So then even if I do a members only chat, now I have Zionist trolls who have a membership to my channel who can comment and do other things. And so I'm hoping that they got snatched up. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I just hope they didn't get snatched up by our open trolls in the comments. Amos Leak says it's beyond college campuses. Don't forget it. I think that's a great point, Amos. It's bigger than college campuses. It's deeply entrenched in the culture itself, and it's hard, when it's bound up in all these things. I suggest everybody watch Byron Hurt's film on hazing. It's a wonderful film. I'm in it. I think I'll probably take a more pro-hazing position than I would now. I'm completely against hazing. I don't believe in it. I think it's wrong. I don't support the violence. I don't support the hyper-masculinity.
What changed for you?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I'll tell you more off air, but my I'm sitting there looking at I deemed a line, and they gave me this for whiskey. Deeming a line, was part of it. When you cross, you there's an instinct to want to give back what was given to you, done what was done to you. But when you're responsible for some people, other people are for more mature, and other people like, I don't want no parts of what was done to me, right? Part of it for me was being responsible for other people.
Yeah.
And realizing, and then part of it is after decades of membership, you look around and you say, the people who were the most invested in making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and making sure that we made them and made them right, are often the least active, the least financial, the least committed. And when you look at the data on hazing in organizations, the data suggests that while people who go through hazing have the highest affective connection, the highest emotional connection to the organization, there's a way that you're actually less likely to be active and less likely to be financial. And the reason makes sense. Right? After 8 weeks, 5 days, 22 minutes, and 50 seconds of getting busy making those sandwiches, I don't feel like I need to. I don't owe y'all shit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come in the other way, you like, I want to hit the ground running and prove myself. I'm like, I ain't got to prove nothing.
I think it's important to Amos's point, just to point out that when he was like, it is beyond college campuses. And I think that that's a really important point in the ways that we sing and the ways that we see the kind of dynamic of hazing, which again is about power, it's about control, it's about creating a dynamic. It's violent humiliation, often meant to humble, to break people. I mean, look at the language that's used to describe that. But I think key just about this bill is that it is specifically about colleges and universities.
Yes.
So there is a culture of violence and breaking and hazing that I think is and should be broadly addressed. I think what some of our commentary is reflecting on why specifically this bill is the Stop Campus Hazing Act, and is directly related to colleges and universities disclosing hazing incidents that are reported to authorities in these annual security reports, right? So it's not getting at the culture of hazing that we're saying is rampant throughout our society, but rather specifying what's happening on college campuses and then thinking about who on college campuses are most visible in certain ways in that imagination, who will most likely be criminalized and targeted in that. That is just, I just want to clarify that from a kind of specific standpoint and why we were speaking about Greek letter organizations as opposed to thinking about hazing that occurs more broadly.
That's real. I think that's important. All right, y'all, I want to move on to another topic because one of the things that's come up this year, and it's come up recently before we circle back. No, actually, you know what? I want to talk about Kamala Harris for a second. Because Kamala Harris has also had an interesting year. At the top of 2024, Kamala Harris was probably not at the center of the conversation for a lot of reasons. Joe Biden was running for re-election, not her. She was going to be on the ticket, but there was no expectation that she would play any more of a prominent role than she did the previous 4 years. She was going to be the VP, like every VP is the VP. And then Joe Biden got slower and slower on the campaign trail. Then he had those debates, and then, or that debate. Then people said you can't win. Then he dropped out. Then Kamala Harris went from the bottom of the ticket to the top of the ticket. And for 107 days, she was the nominee, the first Black woman nominee, there's only the second woman nominee at all in the general election for the presidency from a major party. And then she lost. She has had quite the year, quite a ride. We could, if you want, feel free to say what you think this year is meant for her. But also, I'm thinking, like, what's next? What do you do if you're Kamala Harris? Like, I keep thinking about, like, when 2024 is over, who does Kamala Harris become? What does she do? How will our community receive her? I know how we receive Obama, but he won and he was the president, right?
Yeah.
I know how we respond to Michelle Obama, not just Barack Obama. There's a Jesse Jackson's now sharp. There's spaces for people in our culture, in these political spaces. Does she occupy one of those spaces? Does she become one of our hallowed figures? Or does she just disappear into the ether? I wonder who she's going to be. I gotta say, after 15 months of genocide, I'm not particularly sympathetic, but I still, as an intellectual and cultural question, I want to think about it. Dr. Lindsey, I'm going to start with you. How do you make sense of Kamala Harris here for this 2024 and also moving forward?
I don't know. I really don't know where she fits in post this. And that's not just about her. When I tell people as a historian, when I say something is historic that has happened, doesn't always mean that historic moves me in some way that I feel like we've progressed there. If anything, her historic run has shown us a lot about this nation in its fullness. And the worst of it, the ugliness of it, where these fault lines are. I think a lot of fault lines are exposed. I think that she ran a campaign that is important for us to take a look at and reflect on deeply as we get a more distance from it, what she was up against. If I just think about this from the political climate, as you said, 107 days to mount a historical campaign for a half Black South Asian woman who was not terribly visible in terms of the Biden presidency in ways that had people already connected to her and rooting for her. I mean, we're going to be studying that as historians. We're looking at that. We're going to be looking at those who rallied around her, who mobilized with her, who were energized by her, those who were not energized by her response to genocide, her response to the death penalty, her response to various things, the Democratic Party's kind of fracturing and ineptness in this moment, and how we get to Trump 2, term 2 in this moment. I think she will be received warmly by a lot of people because of what she meant symbolically to a lot of people, what she mobilized and what she was able to do in those 107 days. And conversely, I think she's not going to have an easy political future as a result of that easy space to kind of fit in and peg in, because the Democratic Party within days of the election was already throwing her under the bus. She's not going to necessarily find a space among kind of even liberals or progressives in the way that I think some may have believed she should be, and where the kind of Obamas occupy and the political consciousness. And then what role does she go to now? What was her political imagination before this? I don't think I know enough about President Harris to think about what her political calculation might be.
I'm hearing Governor of California. I'm hearing Governor of California. Could you see that happening?
Oh no, like perhaps I think Dr. Lindsey makes a really good point. I think after 107 days of that campaign, a lot of what people were saying was, we don't know who she is consistently. Like she's not opening up, and a lot of people had questions on just like who she was. I had the fortune of covering like her campaign for Vanity Fair this year, and just going to like different events. I went to the DNC, and you saw so many people who were energized post like Biden dropping out. Like it wasn't grim. People were like ready, hype, energized, and you know, when she came out, people were like losing their shit. But what I also noticed was that from the crowds, a lot of people were asking her to speak on the genocide. And, you know, as we saw, people were ignoring it or tiptoeing around it this whole election cycle. And I think that, you know, that hurt her in terms of Democratic and liberal voters. Like there was in a sense of trust. A lot of people talked about how they were going to stay home, how they weren't going to vote for anybody, and how, like, you know, yes, she was the lesser of two evils, but there was very much as much as I saw energy, I also saw like timidness. Like I don't really know, and I think that, you know, that does leave a bad taste in some people's mouths. I ultimately think she will be highly regarded as somebody of a pillar moving forward, maybe in specific communities, like maybe specific subsets of the black community. I can't say as a whole because I know everybody ain't vote, you know, for her, but like, you know, I definitely see her being revered, but I don't know where she goes politically. I didn't get a sense that she was highly interested prior in this before like Biden stepped down. That's me, but I think I just wish her the best. I don't know, I can't predict, but I think she got some ground to cover in terms of building trust back from people. And
yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know people on my side of the aisle and my side of the left even will probably never be able to reconcile her behavior and her choices with you know, some of our political aspirations. I mean, you know, Iowa speaking, when she says that and shuts down those activists in Michigan, I think for a lot of us, for a lot of people in our community, that was the end. That was the beginning of the end. That was the moment where she was cold to genocide. That's the moment where she wasn't responsive to voters who were saying, "Look, give us a reason to vote for you. Like, we want an excuse to vote for you. Tell me something good. You know, tell me that you like me."
Yeah.
You know,
it was going to be an uphill battle no matter what. I don't want to downplay the role that misogyny plays in this. I don't want to downplay the role that misogynoir specifically plays in this. I don't want to downplay that in terms of framing the national landscape. I also want to throw the Democratic Party in this conversation and their just horrible naming of our problem. You saw the death penalty for the first time taken off of the Democratic platform. You saw, you know, she's in interviews like, "You come to my house, I got my Glock." It was just so much of shifting farther and farther to the right. So that "I'm speaking" moment, where some people read that as there are definitely people who read that as a Black woman being interrupted, and she's like, "I'm speaking, don't do that. I'll give you your moment, but hold on." There are people who read that like that. And there were people who also read that "I'm speaking." I was like, and you're speaking into a moment in which we're seeing people burned alive on our timelines. We're seeing journalists targeted. We're seeing hospitals targeted. We're seeing multiple genocides happening around the world, lest we forget about Sudan or what's happening in the Congo, or the kind of push of what was about to happen and happening in Haiti. So I think that there's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of understandable distrust and anger that came from the left. But I also think there's a fracturing that happened between the left and those in the Democratic Party as well, about what is this party trying to do? You kept trying to outright the right, and then people just chose the right.
Yeah.
Trying to your immigration policy was farther to the right than Trump's. At one point he had proposed initially.
You're gonna bring out Dick Cheney, right? You're gonna bring out Dick Cheney and have this fracking policy and this and this and this and this. It's like, you know, and you're just as hawkish on Palestine as everybody else. It's like at some point we might as well get a Trump. You
sent Bill Clinton and Richie Torres to Michigan to campaign for you. We're talking about and denigrating Palestinians in Michigan. This was not a smart, strategic way of moving. And I think there's a lot of harm that has happened. And I think the harm has also trickled into our movements and our spaces. And that's what I'm more concerned about moving forward, especially in this next term, is how do we move from this moment? Those who are in the Democrat on the left who didn't want Trump, but also like those who did vote for Harris and those who didn't vote for her, but also want a future that doesn't look like the future we seem to be barreling towards. How do we talk to each other? How do we engage each other? How do we stop the death dealing? Like, how do we do that? Kamala has a role. I don't know, but yeah.
Speaking of death, Jimmy Carter passed away yesterday. You know, cause of death hasn't been determined.
But he's 100, right?
You just gonna step on my joke, Jameer?
I didn't know that was okay. My fault. I'm sorry.
Wow. Aren't you a professional comedic stylist?
I didn't know that's where you were going.
He's 100. Yes, the cause of death was 100. You know, I could have. I was going somewhere, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. Point is, the great Jimmy Carter has passed away. The face of American empire, but also someone who had a post-presidency that was extraordinary and inspiring. It was as inspiring as his presidency was uninspiring. And he spent a whole lot more time not being president than he did being president. So, you know, that has to count for something. But that's not why I'm mentioning it right now. I did a whole thing on Jimmy Carter last night. Greg Abbott. Y'all know Greg Abbott? He's the governor of the great state of Texas. If y'all don't know him, here's a photo of him telling someone to go back across the border, I'm sure. And Greg Abbott decided that he was going to do the politically correct thing, I guess because he wants to be president one day, and send condolences after the death of President Carter. Who does he send them to? Who does he send them to? He sends them to Rosalind Carter, the first lady, former first lady. Now, the problem is, Rosalind Carter died a year ago. How do you not know that? You sure you don't live in the projects of Fort Greene?
No, I know. I was trying to mute before that happened. Seems like everything's okay outside.
It sounded like, well, if you got to look outside to find out, that's slow singing and flower bringing. I know that. I know that whoop de whoop. Point is, speaking of death, it was such a ridiculous thing to do. I had to do a Snopes background check to make sure, because I was like, you know, sometimes even the left, the right, we all like jump on things that aren't exactly true, right? Just because they're funny, they're cool, so we just jump on the story. But I was like, upon Jimmy Carter's death, did Texas governor send condolences to his wife, who had already died? And they said yes. Yes. And I hate him. I didn't feel anything one way or the other. The Democrats, Republicans, they all the same to me. But after that, I was like, Jesus, homeboy, you couldn't have sent it to Amy. You couldn't have sent it to a neighbor, a friend, a cousin, a niece. You sent it to his dead wife. Republicans are very out of touch. And you see the performance of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about it except Greg Abbott is an idiot. And that's deeply, deeply, deeply saddening to me. I want to move on to something else, though. I don't want to talk about that. Jimmy Carter died on December 29th. Like less than a month before Donald Trump would be the president. I believe that Jimmy Carter died on purpose. That's my conspiracy theory. I don't think he wanted to live through another Trump presidency. I don't think he wanted Donald Trump presiding over his funeral. I think he was like, you know what? You can unplug me from I mean, Jimmy Carter was in hospice for like a year. I mean, his finger was pretty much tapped into the car charger. Like, I think he just said, you know what? Cut this thing off. I'm good. I've seen a lot in 100 years. I don't want to see another Trump presidency. Is that crazy? Am I being crazy?
No, I don't think you're being crazy. I also, you gotta just factor in that he's 100 and it was a random day, and any day at 100 is probably exactly right. A snap of a finger, you out of here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it could have been. Now I think that's better for the story. He looked like he was ready. He looked like he'd been ready to
he'd been ready.
He'd been ready to take it up.
Hold on, waiting.
He was, yeah. He looked like he was ready to take it up yonder. So it would be a good, like, fuck you to go out like that, though. That would be like.
So my question is also, as we're thinking about this, because I think it's two things. I think Trump dying is a big part. The other part is his wife was gone. He was married for 77 years.
Right.
A lot of times when people, that when their significant others die, they don't live long after. Now, if you 77 years is a little bit, we're conflating some variables here. Of course, if you're 100, you can say anything, right? You know what I mean? Like, he's 100. People don't live. I mean, he's 100.
100.
But I think there's a way that he didn't want to live on a planet that didn't have Rosalind. I think there's a way that he didn't want to live on a planet that had a President Trump. I guess my question for y'all is, what do y'all not want to live on a planet with? Like, for example, I don't want to live on a planet where there is no Mary J. Blige. I just don't. I don't. Okay. I don't want to live on a planet that doesn't have professional basketball. I just don't want to be here no more. No NBA. I don't want no parts. I'm still struggling with Luther Vandross not being here.
That's true. Okay.
Is it what's the thing that you did? Oh yeah, and like, you know, my family and stuff. But
oh,
who y'all don't want to be on this planet without?
Damn. Oh no.
I don't know. That's a really hard question, and I don't mean it's hard. It's just, one of the things about this year is I think we're actually talking about grief very differently and publicly in ways that I'm heartened by. That we're starting to talk more about the process of grief, what grief looks like, the inconsistency of grief, and the way it moves. You know, I don't think we've grieved the fact that with this pandemic, millions of people died, which means all of us were affected, and we haven't had kind of a global reckoning with the fact that that has happened, the intensification of what's happening with our climate and our planet, these like ecocide that's happening, that's taking people out. Like, I don't want to live in a world where we stop believing that another world is possible. So that's not a person.
That's a good one.
I think about, often there are people who represent that to me. So I think about this year, I went to go see Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder goes out. I'm like, I'm going to see him because it's Stevie. It's one of the, if not the best artists ever, for a lot of reasons. That means so much to so many. I'm like, wrap him in bubble wrap. Don't let nothing get to Stevie, Steveland Morris. And I went to see him, and he wanted to go on this tour. I went to the first night of the tour that he did in Pittsburgh, and it was the Love Tour, right? I don't want to be in a world where people like Stevie don't exist, who still believe in the power to transform how we move through this world, the world we want to see, the world we want to build. Stevie, for me, is part of the soundtrack of that. He literally is how I think about love, how I connect to people that I've lost and grieve to this day in this moment, and thinking about that. So in many ways, it's the dreamers and the people who are the architects of dreaming of that world. And I think they're people I could say, like my family, my mom, my anybody I love. I don't want to be in a world without them, because my love now looks different if that person is not here. Right?
Yeah, no, that's real. I think the family is the whole constant. I think we all agree with that. Our families, you know, we love and don't want to be here without. I mean, there's some family I would love to be here without, but the ones that I do, the ones I love, I love. The ones I don't, yeah, they, you know, I'm good. I think I might turn up a notch if they stepped off. But Stevie's such an interesting choice. I can't imagine a musical. I mean, there hasn't been a musical world without Stevie Wonder in most of our lifetimes. We're already having to deal with like a post Quincy Jones world.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what a post Stevie Wonder world looks like. I mean, Stevie, when I saw Stevie on this tour too at Madison Square Garden. I'm sorry, was it Madison Square? Yeah, Madison Square Garden. And his new song is "How Can We Heal Our Nation's Broken Heart?" And when he sang that at the Garden, the first thing I did was jump to my feet and go get a drink. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't need Stevie to ever make another new song.
Yo,
after that, he did As, he did Ribbon in the Sky, he did Uptight, he did, you know, I mean, and the catalog is amazing and beautiful and wonderful. I love what Stevie Wonder is, who he is, what he does. I don't think there's there's not three greater artists in the 20th century. I don't think there are three greater artists. I mean, I think you can have your conversations about these different people, but Stevie's in that mix. Motown is, you know, I mean, Motown is Motown. You got Smokey, you got Marv, and even still, Stevie is a king of kings and king of queens. You know what I'm saying? Like there's Stevie Wonder to me, and there's everybody else. Yeah, I don't think I can live in a world without Stevie Wonder. Ooh, that's a good one, Stevie Wonder. That's a good one. And if y'all can catch Stevie on tour, you should. I heard he was in LA recently and killed it too. I think it was 2 weeks, 3.
It was an amazing show. I mean, if Stevie is Stevie, the catalog is the catalog. But he still firmly believes in what's possible. And that, you know, always makes me think, like, you know, Miriam Cabo, right? Hope is a discipline. That Stevie's music to me is the kind of sonic embodiment of that, right? That he remains steadfastly committed to the hope that this world can be a world he imagines, that our world can be what he sings about on Songs in the Key of Life or Inner Visions, or like it can be that. And that
what's the
is that.
I'm sorry, there's a little delay. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good.
What's the Stevie Wonder song y'all can't live without?
Don't You Worry About a Thing. It was the first one to come.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh.
I don't have many songs that I consider like perfect. I think that's just like a perfect blend of like instruments, lyrics, vibe, feel. That's one of the songs like I could put on and instantly just feel better, like, or good. So that for me. And Fingertips Part 2, because when I was younger, for the church talent show, I dressed up as little Stevie Wonder, and my grandmother gave me a harmonica for Christmas. And so I was like, tap your hands just a little bit louder, you know. I was there. So
you look like little Stevie right there for a minute.
Yeah, it's the hand, it's the bop, it's the sway, it's the feel.
Do you have footage of that? I like to see the footages.
Oh, there's no way I'm showing you.
Why?
Because
you don't trust me with it?
No.
Wow.
So Stevie for me has the most list when I make a list of what I consider perfect songs. He shows up the most on that list for me. So it's not one, like, I can't imagine a world that doesn't have As. And that's not even my favorite song of his, but I can't imagine a world that doesn't. He gives us a vocabulary for what love feels like. Like, I know I haven't had good love because I've never felt that Stevie song when I've been with someone, right? In a romantic context versus like, I felt that in friendships. I felt that with family. I felt that for like commitment to justice, but like that thing that he sings about, the longing of like, I never dreamed you leaving some deep cut. I love Rocket Love.
Ooh,
Rocket Love is a banger.
That's
I also love Don't You Worry About a Thing. That Girl.
That girl is one of my favorites.
Me Off My Feet. It's so vast. Because every song at the concert, I'd be like, oh, that's my song. And I get up and then I sit back down and then another song would come out. I even love like more of the more recent, like cheesy ones. Like there was the 90s when he did like For Your Love. I would do anything just to see like Daddy sing that.
I love that on was it it makes me think a lot of the Jungle Fever soundtrack too.
I was just about to say that's one of the most underrated soundtracks ever. Like he got some bangers on.
It's My Sharia Moore.
No, he got bangers on there. These Three Words, fight, like just
it's kind of incomparable. But his construction of song and what he hears is just something. It's otherworldly. Stevie is one way, I believe, the universe, creator, the ancestors, whatever you believe in, speaks to us. Like Stevie's voice
I think
moves
that's
us
real.
to create songs that do that. Because people connect to Stevie songs. Like it's just affective. Like it's in you. You hear your mood immediately changes whenever you hear your favorite Stevie songs. Like it just immediately, you could be having the worst day. Or it could even be where you are sad and it gives you the language to articulate what it is you're feeling. So when you're missing someone, you can turn on a Stevie song and it captures the thing that you can't even articulate. And the ability to do that for 7 decades.
It's extraordinary. You know, I can't live without Az. I just can't. I don't want to think about a world without Az. I don't know if it's I think it's my favorite Stevie Wonder song, but if it is, there's so many 1A's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knocks me off my feet, or like you said, Rocket Love, or All I Do. And I love the way he initially wrote All I Do for Tammy Terrell, and Tammy Terrell's version is beautiful. It's
so
slower.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, man. Shout out to Tammy Terrell from Philadelphia, from Germantown. Went to Germantown High. But when he what he did with it on Hotter Than July, or you know, and now Aretha something else. He wrote Till You Come Back to Me. Aretha kept it. She
bodied it.
She put that. That was meant for her. But there's so many Stevie songs, you know, that I just, you know, for once in my life, you know, just songs that make you feel good and make you take you to a place, you know.
Golden Lady. Oh my gosh.
Golden Lady is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Golden Lady is gorgeous. Master Blaster. I think, you know, what else, like, I think Stevie and Prince, in terms of expansiveness of a discography and body of work, like, they weren't afraid to make music that was probably out of their realm, deemed by a lot. They tried a lot. They explored a lot. And for me, they helped me break out of music kind of like a just straight focus of what it's supposed to sound like or feel like, because they were true artists. They wrote, they tried, you know, the Stevie Plant album had a whole album about plants.
Yeah, The Secret Life of Plants. What's it called? The Inside. What's it called? Is that what's called? Secret Life of Plants?
Yeah.
Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants.
Journey. I'm forgetting a word. Okay,
yeah.
On Your Love, which is also a fantastic.
Yeah. Like
yes.
Stevie, what a griot of music. Like 101. Just when Stevie stopped, so much stops. Like Quincy. That was just like.
Don't even get me started with Quincy Jones. All right, yeah. I know we gotta go soon. There's another. Speaking of musical geniuses, Drake.
Oh my God. Worst year ever. Like Drake's worst year, or the worst year of an artist is what you say.
I'll just say this. 12 months ago, Drake was at the top of the Spotify list. He was at the top of everybody's most listened to artists. You know, he was the most popular rapper in the world. One of the great pop artists in the world as well. Was riding pretty high. And now 12 months later, again, he's not uncool, but he doesn't have the same cultural gravitas that he had before. He lost a rap battle in extravagant fashion. I mean, I've never seen a rap battle in quite like this. I mean, I was at a Halloween party for my 2-year-old. I'm not even joking. And the kids, they playing Not Like Us. Wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
But that's how deep the footprint. I mean, she's like certified pedophile. What? I'm like, what? You're three.
Minor, yeah.
Yeah, it was the A minor. I mean, the only word they cut out was like the one swear word. It's like y'all don't realize like you can't say pedophile. Yeah, all the other stuff was wild, right? It was at a zoo. But my point is, that's how deeply ingrained the song. It's like when I was in 8th grade, people were singing "As We Lay." Oh, not as we. Yeah, "As We Lay." No, I'm sorry. It's more, "As We Lay." It's like people didn't know the words, right? It was just like the song was so deeply entrenched. This was what we did. Point being, he's about to be at the Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar. There's a pretty good chance he's going to be singing "Not Like Us," and if not, he's going to at least have the music. There's going to be some musical overture. And the reason that the Super Bowl partly is because of what he did to Drake. My big point on this is just Drake has gone from being at the top of the heap. He's still popular. He's still at the top of a lot of people's lists. A lot of Drake fans out there. A lot of Drake stands out there. But the idea that Drake would be suing Universal Music Group 12 months ago would have been absurd. The idea that people be clouding Drake like this, it would be absurd. Have we ever seen a more precipitous drop career-wise? I'm not talking about like Diddy dropping or OJ dropping. I'm talking about like just at the level of the artistry and the culture. Have we seen a more precipitous drop than what we saw with Drake over the last 12 months? Ja Rule, maybe?
Yeah, that was bad, man.
Yeah, maybe Ja.
Ja
wasn't up as high, so I don't know if the drop was as bad.
I mean, but you can argue that Ja Rule was at the top of the rap game before 50 Cent, like often career-wise. And then used his style to popularize it, which I thought was just, like that was, yes. Which again, if you talk about Kendrick, I remember being on this show and we were talking about how Kendrick could execute. And I know there was like, can Kendrick out-popularize Drake? And I think, that question has been answered. And we see same kind of strategy that 50 used. I think maybe Ja Rule, but I think the fashion in which Drake was like dominated and defeated was a little bit more like, not like us about to win a Grammy.
Yeah,
we just going to keep it tall, and that's the song that accuses Drake of being a pedophile, and you'll never not hear about it. It's always gonna ring off. Shout out to Drake though, like Drake is Drake. I don't think that Drake is not gonna never have like a #1 record again.
I'm not sure he will.
But I think that his he can go. He's about to do a tour in Australia. Like, not to say that Kendrick Lamar don't have fans in Australia, but like he can still go different places and is popular enough to
I'm sure he'd kill him in Bucharest. I'm saying though, here in America, Drake, and part of it is because he's attacked the Universal Music machine. I mean, what troubles me, Dr. Lindsey, is Drake is that guy who, like, the Universal Music Group, the music industry is trash in general, right? And they manufacture hits, they manufacture celebrities, they manufacture stars, they manufacture #1s. Drake is suing them for manufacturing the #1s that are taking him out the spot, but ignoring the fact that those same machines got him to the #1 spot.
Right.
It's like you can't have it both ways. It's like, all my #1s were because of me. All my #10s were because of you. It don't work that way. He had a #1 with SZA. What's that song?
Yeah, with Sexy Red.
Was it Sexy Red?
It was Drake, Sexy Red, and was that?
I'm talking about Slime You Out.
Oh, Slime You Out. Oh, yeah.
Right, that's my point. It went #1, and nobody listened to Slime You Out. Nobody liked Slime You Out.
Somebody liked Slime You Out,
but not enough for it to be #1. I'm saying he's go ahead, Treva.
He's the system that he's calling out, right? Like, you have benefited from this. Today, literally today, on my Pandora, I got they were like, the Drake station, all things Drake, blah, 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 blah. This is targeted by your company. That's not, I have never, and I've long been a Drake absolutely not person well before wop, 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 wop. So I'm just pleased in this moment that pop culture broadly has said no to him right now. I'm kind of with Jameer. I have no idea where he'll be in a few, like couple years, what he could do, what he could retool. He's talented enough to make them. There's still relationships that he still has that I think could be beneficial for how he might resurface. And you know, I think he'll benefit from a certain level of privilege. And also the hundreds of millions of dollars that he has, I'm sure he'll be fine, right, irrespective of what this does mean. But I do think that, you know, it exposed a lot. Again, it's that Cat Williams thing. We start at the top, like who you are, how people actually think about you in the industry, how your peer, who to me was always more talented than you are as a lyricist, right? Not as a pop maker, but you almost dared him to enter into the lane that you have occupied very successfully for a while. Like, I mean, this is a fact. He's dominated for a while. And he comes in and makes a song that you can't get away from. Like, even if you wanted to get away, and I mean, whether that's engineered, all that, it is everywhere. Like you said, it's at the 2-3-year-olds party. We're up here A minor. I've changed my hashtag to like, when they go low, I go Kendrick. Like, this is it was a cultural reset. And at Drake's expense. And the culture told us something, which also gave me a little bit of faith. I've been very like, me and hip hop are breaking up because I've been in this abusive relationship with hip hop for way too long. But this moment made me feel a thing I had not felt in quite some time. And then, of course, I want to shout out the women in hip hop, particularly the women in the South in hip hop who had an incredible year.
Glorilla.
To Rhapsody, to Glorilla, to Meg, Lotto, like these projects, these women ran it. Like, exception of Kendrick, it is the women, and particularly Black women from the South, who really gave us projects and gave us things to think about. Doechie's like performances have just reset the bar again, and that's still also TDE. So,
Doechie, by the way, TDE. I mean, look, I didn't love the what SZA did with these bonus tracks. I thought it was good. I just, you know, felt a little. I mean, you know what? It's a re-release. Initially I was like, this should have been a whole new album. Now I get why it wasn't. You know what I mean? For what it was fine. You know, I just have such a high bar for SZA, but I like the music. I just didn't love it sonically. But TDE, I mean, between like what Kendrick did alone is enough. But then I watched Doechie really take the culture by storm, and watching her on Tiny Desk, that Doechie Tiny Desk was like, I was like, oh, you got you her.
Yeah.
No, it's an incredible year. If you haven't heard any of the albums of the folks to listen to, go check it out. Go watch these performances. When I say the women ran, I mean, you couldn't get away from it's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees, which really is climate change. But in love, it was
what's the best album of 2024 for y'all?
Oh,
let's just say music in general. What, you know, I know. I'm assuming Treva's going to say the Tortured Poets Department, the anthology. But other than that, that's the Taylor Swift project. But
don't ever put them people on me again, ever.
I did not put them people on you. But with
the
them people,
Swifties.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. Don't ever make a Swiftie mad. That's all I'm gonna say.
Nah.
There are only a few people who I'm more afraid of. What will be in the one album of the year? You go through one album from 2024 and 2025. What you taking? I want y'all out there to write in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think as well. One album coming from 2024. What y'all bringing?
I'm gonna do one that's outside the box that I thought was really refreshing. Layla, Gap Year, which I just thought was like raw and different. And sometimes through nepotism, it's kind of like this could be hit or miss. For sure. But I thought that project, especially for somebody so young, was high quality and just refreshing. So I would say Gap Year. And big shout out to Layla. I hope she continues to have a really great career. She had a really great 2024. Especially like on the underground scene, and she still got a lot of buzz. So I'm gonna say Gap Year.
Gap Year.
Project, yeah.
How about you, Dr. Lindsey?
This is hard. I really don't know. I'm struggling because I'm like, I don't know when 2024 began. Like, I actually trying to see what came out this year, and music wise, I'm inclined to say I listen a lot as an album. Tyler the Creator.
That's an album. That's a great album.
It's a great album.
I really vibed with it. I mean, Vampire Weekend had a great album this year. I also really, I mean, Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us was one of my favorites this year too. So, yeah. Literally, the line off the album is "Fuck the World" on Vampire Weekend. So, but there were, I really enjoyed both of those projects. I really enjoyed Doechie's project a lot. Yes. A lot. Like, it just did something for me. So those are the ones that immediately come to mind, because there's some that I'm like, I'm not sure if that's 2024 or 2023. Yeah. So,
Mr. Pond.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, well, one, I really like Tyler's album because it's very seldom, especially in hip hop, that you see artists like progressive wise, and to be able to see like Tyler's whole career, still able to be himself, but to like acknowledge the fact that he's getting older and what that looks like and what that feels like. And then also just like he says it in his name, like tracks like Sticky, like to be able to get everybody, like to have an ear to put like Glow and Lil Wayne and Sexy Red on one track. It like one of just the standout tracks. Another album that I do want to shout out though is like Schoolboy Q, Blue Lips, which I thought was a really great album. A lot of people in the beginning of the year were talking about like a lot of Grammy talk for Blue Lips. Of course, like I think Kendrick from like the summer on, and even a little bit before that, kind of took the talk with it. But Blue Lips was a fire album that I'm hope does get nominated this year for a Grammy.
Yeah. Forgot one. Leon Thomas, Mutt. That was that
was an album.
Yes.
That I forgot that's what I mean.
That was an album. Leon Thomas is one of the most unsung albums of the year, I thought. Before we go, how y'all feel about Cowboy Carter now with some distance from it?
What? Okay, so I love country music. I regularly listen to country music. I would say two of my favorite songs from 2024 from Cowboy Carter. And I say that with all of the critical kind of like things that I have about B. And I think B is one of the best performers ever. And I think she once again proved that at Beyonce Bowl. She's just freaking phenomenal as a performer. I'm not even gonna go into politics, all that with her. But a song I've listened to at least twice a week for the last since Cowboy Carter dropped is actually her song with Miley Cyrus, Two Most Wanted. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is an absolutely phenomenal song. I love the lyrics. I love the beauty. I love the way they layer with each other. It feels very lesbian coded. It's like they're changing and who's topping whom. It is a stunningly beautiful song, and it's one of my favorite Beyonce songs ever. But seeing it perform live was a whole other moment for me, and it coming to life in a way. But Two Most Wanted is on my top 10 from this year. So
wow.
I really enjoyed the project. I'm thankful that as an artist, from a performer and an artist standpoint, that she continues to take risks and just goes where she wants to go as an artist and connects that she wants to connect to and amplifies and does that. As a performer, I have a deep respect for that. I'm ready for this flag era to be done. I'm ready for this like critical patriot era shit to be done. But she is also part of the
I'm hoping that's in February because, you know,
I sadly don't think it is, because I think Cowboy Carter just got like a renewed interest and a kind of renewed thing. And I think her response, based on what I sense from Beyonce's kind of politics and where she positions, is like, all right, now Trump is won, so we have to claim America as our narrative, right? Like, I think that's going to be the kind of political turn that she makes. It's not in any way near my politics, but I do think that's what we're going to see.
You see it, right? That's the true
line. It's a project. People love.
Remember, give you the last word on this.
Yeah. I would say, like, first of all, Riverdance was probably one of my favorite songs this year, like fire. But also, just in retrospect, the whole cowboy movement, like that kind of spread through like Black culture and just like all like transcended music, cowboy aesthetic, like the hats, the boots, the skirts, the pants, like all that came from Beyonce, mostly came from Beyonce. And, you know, like you had people like Shabuzi who had an incredible year. But a lot of people found out about Shabuzi from the Cowboy Carter album. So, you know, I know she got snubbed at the Country Music Awards, but
you ain't seen snubs. You see a Black person at the Country Music Awards.
This is, but to see like even just the highlighted presence, what she did for country music in general. Like, you could say a lot of things about Beyonce, but when Beyonce has an era, like the Renaissance album, House and Disco came back, and, you know, like that surged, and now we like in this cowboy era. So shout out to Beyonce for still being this deep in her career and still being the standard for real. Is
this idea of being this good for this long, whether it's Jay-Z, whether it's LeBron James, the idea of being this good for this long,
wow,
it's a daunting one, y'all. Anyway, yo, I want to thank y'all for hanging out, man. I gotta go. I'm feeling worse and worse. I'm not feeling so great. I want to lay down, but I appreciate y'all for helping me bring out or take out 2024. It's officially December 31st, less than 24 hours left in the year. And I'm glad to hang out with y'all to get some brilliant insight. Everybody, make sure you check out Jameer Pond on social media. You can go Instagram, you can go to Facebook or Twitter. You can go all the things. Okay. He's there, and he'll be telling stories in the town near you. Dr. Lindsey, Reverend Dr. Lindsey, go to America Goddamn. Anywhere books are sold, but we prefer if you do it at a Black-owned bookstore. One potentially named after an uncle. But do your thing. People can get a hold of you through social media as well. Your stuff is up there on different platforms, right? So y'all, if you catch it, if you can, find it, if you must, it's worth it. You'll get brilliant insight. You'll get critical scholarship. Same thing with Jameer. You know, if you follow him, you'll particularly to the spot where he's telling these stories, you're going to get brilliant insight, man. He's so talented, so gifted. He really is the Varnell Hill of my social group. Like, seriously.
No.
Did you miss me?
Okay.
So
Dr. Lindsey, it was wonderful seeing you.
Wonderful seeing you too, Jameer. Happy New Year to you, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Y'all not happy to see me?
Whatever, man. Damn.
The disrespect. It's okay. I'm used to it.
Breaking up moments.
It's my goal. Well, thank y'all both for joining me. Everybody, thank y'all for watching 2024 Night School. 2025 Night School will be back in a few days. We'll start office hours on Sunday. We'll start the show next Monday. In the meantime, there'll be new content coming out every day. Some of it will be me live. Some of it will be pre-recorded, but you will still get the content every day. But I just need a day or two to recharge and recover. Thank y'all for watching the channel. Thank y'all for supporting. Thank y'all for welcoming our guests into this space so generously. It's the last day of the year now, officially. So we are doing our best to build this platform up, and we could use your support. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're so inclined, hit the join button and become a monthly member of the channel. Again, hit that join button and become a monthly member of the channel if you're so inclined. We would be greatly appreciative of it. Also, if you can't make a one-time or monthly commitment, feel free to make a one-time donation. You can donate any amount you want. If you want to donate $1, we are grateful. If you want to be like Jameer and donate $200,000, we are grateful. If you want to be like Dr. Lindsey and donate $500,000, we are grateful. You can drop $1 million in and I'll still be grateful. That's how big of a person I am. But I'm not asking you to drop $1 million. I'm asking everybody to do their part. If everybody gets a little, nobody's give a lot. Go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle and make a one-time payment. No monthly commitments. Make a one-time payment on Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. I would love if somebody tonight could donate $10,000. I would love if 2 people tonight could donate $5,000. We are building over here, but we need your support. If you can't do those large amounts, feel free to give $1. Feel free to give $2. No amount is too small. No amount is too big. I just want to build something for us, something for y'all, something for the world. Anyway, family, I'll see y'all later. Peace. And Happy New Year.